Hello, I'm Holly and today I'm going to be talking about the biggest books on my own TBR. I know this video isn't very Christmassy or end of year-esque, but I've seen this video around a bit and I wanted to have a look at my TBR and see the biggest books on my TBR, and I would say that my relationship with big books is mixed. I do read big books. I'm not completely intimidated by them to the extent that I wouldn't read them. For example, I loved The Priory of the Orange Tree. That is quite a chunk. I've loved some of Robin Hobb's books, which tend to be quite chunky as well. So I'm not completely put off by big books, but I would be lying if I said that I am not intimidated by them, and I just don't know when I am going to read some of these, but most of them are a similar size to ones that I've read in the past, so I know that I just need to push past that bit in my brain which is like, it's too big, I can't do it, and I'll be like, you have read 1,000-page books before, you read The Name of the Wind, you've read Priory in 3 days, you can do it. But yes, we are going to be starting at position number 10, the smallest of the big books, and then we are going to work our way up to the biggest book on my TBR. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, this is my owned TBR, so the books that I physically own. There are a lot of big books that are on my radar but that I don't own currently, which I do want to get to in the future, but that would just be too difficult to go through the hundreds of books on my like mental TBR, so I did just look at the ones that I own. But yeah, I think we should get into it. Even just looking at the pile in front of me is intimidating. But hopefully this video might encourage me to actually pick some of these ones up because I am excited for them. In the 10th position, we have A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. This is 720 pages and I've heard fantastic things about this book. I know that it is an emotional read. Even people who don't cry at books were sobbing at this book, which worries me a little bit because I cry at the tiniest thing. So this book could actually destroy me, and I think the fact that it is this big as well has meant that even though I really want to give this book a try, I am really intimidated and scared of this book. I know that I shouldn't be, and I don't know too much about the plot of this. I believe it follows this group of men. Is it just men? Are there women? Is it just men? Who go to university together, and then it's following them throughout their entire lives. And I just think it is going to hurt me. I think this book is going to hurt me. And the fact that it is 720 pages with tiny font, I am intimidated, but I also really want to get to this one. Number 9 is Salems Lot by Stephen King, which is 751 pages, and would it be a list of the biggest books on my TBR if I didn't have a Stephen King? I only own 2 of his books, no, 3 of his books, and this is the longest one that I own. I really do not know much about this book. I'm pretty sure I saw this in a charity shop. It was probably a couple of pounds, £1 or £2, and I think that it follows vampires, and if you've been watching my channel for a couple of months, you know that I absolutely love vampires, and if I was going to read a Stephen King, it's gonna be a vampire one. I haven't ever read Stephen King before. I know that he is very well loved in the horror genre, which is a genre that I really want to get more into, and just having a little look at the blurb, it seems like this guy who is a writer, I think a lot of Stephen King's books seem to follow a writer, but he has just moved to this small New England town where I think some strange things start to happen. I'm guessing there's vampires. And I think this book looks deceptively small. You wouldn't think this is 751 pages, but it is. And I'm not too intimidated by this book. I think that I am more likely to pick this one up considering that I do love vampires. And let me know if you read it. I'd love to know your thoughts on any of the books in this video, and hopefully I can get to this one in the next year or so. The next book is Lady of Hay by Barbara Erskine. This is 755 pages and it is a mass market paperback, so I don't know whether it's oh no, it looks big. The writing, there's no borders. And I've never heard anyone talk about this book. I think I picked it up from a church. When I was on holiday a few years ago, a lot of the churches around there had these like books for sale, these secondhand book areas, and you would donate money to the church. And this was just one that I saw. and I think that it is a historical fiction. I will just read you the little blurb on the back, it's not very long. Wales 1175. Matilda, Lady of Hay, trapped in a loveless marriage, barred from her lover and threatened by brutal death at the hand of King John. London 1986. Joe Clifford, hard-hitting journalist planning to debunk reincarnation, hypnotised across the ages into the harsh reality of Matilda's life and impending death. Interesting. I think that's why I picked it up. It sounds like you have someone in the 1980s who is a journalist and she gets hypnotised and she goes into the mind of Matilda, Lady of Hay. I don't know why it is that many pages, but I am excited to pick this one up. Again, like I said, I've never heard anyone's thoughts on this. I don't know if it's a good book, but it sounds interesting. And I obviously picked it up for a reason. I am intimidated by it, but it could end up being my next favourite read. Number 7 is The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. This has 781 pages, and this is the second book in the first Mistborn era, the first book being The Final Empire. And the Final Empire is set in this world where the Dark Lord won, and the magic system in this world is very unique. So some people are able to consume different types of metal and gain different abilities. Most people can only consume one type of metal, get one type of ability, but there are some people called Mistborns who have the ability to consume all of them and get all the powers. Obviously you're following a couple of Mistborns and they are involved in this underground revolutionary movement, so they're trying to take the Dark Lord down, and the first book was really fun. I think I gave it maybe 4 stars or 4.5 stars, and I really enjoyed that one. It was very action-packed, I really liked our characters, and there was a bit of romance which I also really quite enjoyed. And I haven't picked up The Well of Ascension since then. I know I'm not very good at continuing series, but I do really want to get to this one, and I am interested to see what this book is going to be about. There was quite an ending of the first book, so I'm expecting this one to be quite different from the first. I don't really want to spoil anything, but I don't know how it's going to continue, and I am very excited to see how it continues. The next book I have is A Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin. This is 888 pages, and this is the second book in the A Song of Ice and Fire series, the first one being Game of Thrones. I read Game of Thrones quite a few years ago, and it took me about a year to read. It put me in the biggest reading slump, and I did start A Clash of Kings. I have a bookmark in it. I got to page 440 and then I gave up. And that was quite a few years ago now, so if I did want to continue I would have to start right from the beginning. But this is a epic fantasy series, I'm sure that most people are aware of it, and it follows a number of different houses and they're all vying for the throne. There's lots of war and magic and dragons and lots of different things, and I did enjoy the first book, and I did love the TV show, except for the last season, but we can ignore that. I loved it up to that point, and I do want to continue with this series. This is one of those classic fantasy series that everyone seems to read, and I do think I could enjoy it if I just push myself through this book. I know that for a lot of people this isn't their favourite book, this is their least favourite book in the series, so I think it's just a case of I'm going to have to push myself to read this one to get further into the series and actually really enjoy some of the later books. I think this one is more likely to happen in the distant future because I am reading a lot of other epic fantasy series at the moment, but I will get to it eventually. Then we have The Passage by Justin Cronin. This is 977 pages, so we're almost getting to the 1,000-page mark now. These are the really chunky books, and I'm pretty sure that this is also a vampire book. Let me know if I've got that wrong. I think it is a post-apocalyptic book, which I'm not a huge fan of, but this is on one of the top 100 fantasy books or horror books or something on Goodreads, which is a list that I'm trying to complete, and I don't know what to say about this. I don't love post-apocalyptic novels. I do like vampires, and I'm a bit scared that it's almost 1,000 pages. I really can't say too much more about it, except that I know that some people really love it, and yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna love it, but I will definitely give it a go at some point. Then we have Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. This is 1,006 pages, and this is a mass market paperback, so this is what it looks like. It's very tiny, size of my face, but also very big, size of my face. And the writing is so tiny. I don't know if you can see. I know that I will love this book. I know it in my soul that it is going to be one of my favourite books of all time. I watched I think it was the BBC adaptation of this a few years ago. I absolutely loved this. And I think this is a historical fantasy. So it is set, I'm not entirely sure, 1806 it says. It is set in 1806, and I'm pretty sure at this point magic is dying or it's gone. People say that they're wizards, but they don't actually do real magic. And then someone comes along, I think Jonathan Strange comes along, and he can do magic. He wants to do things a bit differently. And that's all I can remember. I really can't remember too much from the series, but I remember that I absolutely loved it. And I am excited to get to this. It is just 1,000 pages of tiny writing, and I'm scared. Then we have the top 3, and in the 3rd position we have the complete tales and poems of Edgar Allan Poe. This is a collection of all of Edgar Allan Poe's stuff, his short stories, his poetry, and this is a beautiful special edition. I think it's the Barnes & Noble edition. I got it from Amazon, but I think that's the name of the edition. It has beautiful silver edges, this beautiful illustration, the end pages look like that. And I do think this is more a book that I will slowly work my way through. For example, I might read a few short stories here, a poem here, rather than actually just sitting down and reading it. I don't think that's gonna happen. And this might actually be, you know, the biggest book, because the size of it is just gigantic. And that means that there's more words on the page. I don't know. I mean, just look at those words. I am scared. I think that's what we're finding in this video. I'm scared of big books, but I also really want to read them. And that is the dilemma that just characterises my entire life. So yeah, I've heard great things about Edgar Allan Poe. My dad loves it, so I got him to get me this for, I think it was my birthday in June, and I am really excited to read this one. Slowly but surely I will work my way through it, and this one is 1,020 pages. The next book is kind of cheating because in the UK these books are split into 2, but the whole book is 1,087 pages, and that is Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. Another Brandon Sanderson and another second book in a series. This is the second book in the Stormlight Archive, which is another epic fantasy series, and I can't remember too much because I only read part 1 of the first book. I think that there are multiple perspectives. There's lots of wars going on, this perpetual warfare where no one ever gains land, and yeah, I really don't know too much about this. I might have to go back and reread the first part of Way of Kings, but then I have to read the second part of Way of Kings, and then I get to Word of Radiance, so I don't think this one is going to happen in the near future. I would like to finish the Mistborn trilogy first before I go into this series, but I am excited. I know that this series is one of people's favourite series by Brandon Sanderson. I am very excited. It just might take me a while to get to this one. And then the final book, in position number 1, the biggest book that I own. At a total of 1,304 pages, we have Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. You might have guessed this, I've talked about this book a few times on my channel, and I was intending to read this in 2019, and then I was intending to read this in 2020. Is it ever gonna happen? I don't know. I'm very scared. I have watched the musical, love the musical, but why is it 1,300 pages? And why is the writing so small? I just don't know. I don't know if it's ever gonna happen. Every year I'm gonna put it on my TBR and it won't. Maybe I'll get to it at some point. Maybe I could listen to it as an audiobook. Would that help? I don't know. It'd probably be like a 60-hour audiobook. I'm scared. Let me know if you have ever read Les Mis. I think I will enjoy it because I love the musical, I love the story. It's just, am I going to survive 1,300 words of a classic novel? I don't know. But We shall see. And that is it for today's video. What is the biggest book on your owned TBR? Do you have Les Mis? Have you read Les Mis? And yeah, that's it. So thank you for watching, and to everyone out there, stay curious. Bye!